Hello, class. Welcome to our first exercise of the color module. In this exercise, we are going to learn about our pastels through the contrast of hue checkerboard exercise. So these are the pastels that were on your supply list. It's a 24-pack of assorted Blick Studio pastels. These are called like chalk pastels. Different than oil pastels. So it's kind of like a high grade chalk, if you will. I'll go ahead and put this box over to the side so I can put colors that I'm using in here as I need. You're gonna need your pastels, probably some paper towels to kind of clean up. Your hands will get kind of messy through this. And then I have a little extra container here where I might dump some chalk dust onto. These do get messy, so you'll find out pretty quickly. But they are a really great tool because it's instant color. They are very saturated and rich with color and are fun to draw with. They layer well, they mix well. So it's a really great tool to learn about color. So the first steps to getting your contrast of hue checkerboard set up is you're going to need to use a ruler to map out your 8-inch by 8-inch square. So this is 8-inch by 8-inch with 2-inch grid both horizontally and vertically, so that way we get a checkerboard of 2-inch squares. So I simply, I try to get your square nice and centered. I just did that by taking, 17, the width of the paper, minus 8, which is 9. That divided by 2 is 4.5. And I was able to make 4.5-inch marks here and here. That gave me my vertical lines. Then I took 8 minus 14, which is 6, divided that by 2, so that makes these distances both 3. I put my marks at 3 and 3 from the bottom of the page, connect them, and then I have my perfect 8 by 8-inch square. And then from there, I just measured 2-inch increments across the top and bottom and the two sides, and then I made my checkerboard. But I've taught you how to use the ruler already, so I'm going to not spend too much time on that here in hopes that you should be able to get your grid nice and centered. Notice I've done it very light as well, so that way it does the pencil does not muddy our color. I used an HB for that, just so it's nice and light and won't muddy the color. So, with this first contrast of hue checkerboard, we are going to recreate the checkerboard image that is on the exercise screen. It was originally created by Johannes Itten in his book, The Art of Color. Really great book. If you ever get a chance to go through it and study it, it's really worth the read. There's lots of great exercises in there, and these contrast of hue checkerboards are one of them because it really helps get a deep understanding of how the various hues relate next to each other. So, all right. Hey, let's go ahead and do this. So, I have the checkerboard pulled up on my screen. You can't see it here because we're looking at my paper. But what I'm going to do, we do have some, what I really want you to do for these exercises is to try and mix your colors by using the primary colors to mix the other colors. So, technically our primaries would be yellow, red, and blue here, right? Now we do have multiple yellows we do have multiple blues, and we do have a slightly warmer red here as well. So you're welcome to use all of these. And let's just see what we can get by just using these colors to make this first chart. And it will help us understand a little bit more about color mixing. So I'm going to skip the black one for now just because it's a little different. I'll come back to it. But let's start with just this yellow square that's here in the top right corner, because I feel like that's going to be an easy one, right? We just take our yellow piece of pastel and we just go ahead and fill that square in as perfect and nice as we can. Now, we can also, if we want, use our finger or a paper towel. I kind of like the finger a little bit better for this, and we can kind of smooth this around a little bit and push some of that dust back into the page. Now, you are going to get some dust laying around. I recommend avoid blowing it with your mouth, because then with your breath, because all of that is just going to go everywhere. So once enough dust gets settled up, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dump it right into my little extra cup here, just so that way it's not blowing all over the place. If you need to get it out of the way in the meantime, you can just use a little paper towel and just kind of push it out of the way. It's okay if things get a little messy. You can always use your kneaded eraser and clean things up as well. Okay, so now we've got this purple color here. So when we learned the color wheel, we know that we can mix red and blue to get violet or purple. Now, the purple that I see in this chart is kind of a lilac-y purple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this lighter blue, and we'll go ahead and layer a little bit of this lighter blue down. I could have started with the red too, and then I'm going to take this red here, and I'm going to go ahead and bring that over top a little bit. Let's see what we get here. And then I can clean off my finger so I don't get too much green on there. And then I'm going to push that around a little bit. And it's getting kind of purple, but I think I'm going to just kind of keep adding some more color here. So I'm going to add some more blue to this. Then I'm going to come back in and add some additional reds here. And notice these two reds, right? One red is a little bit warmer than the other. One's a little closer to orange. This one's a little closer to orange, and this one's a little closer to violet, technically, right? So on the color wheel, so we would say this is a slightly cooler red, which is why I'm using it, because the slightly cooler red's going to mix a little bit better with the blue to make the purple. And that's looking pretty good. So now I can kind of blend that in with my finger. And it's not a perfect purple, but hey, it's a pretty good purple. Maybe it's a little warm. So maybe I'll come back in and even add just a little bit more blue to it, just to cool it down a little bit and make it feel a little bit more like a cooler purple rather than so much a redder purple. So there we go. Now we have our yellow and our violet. And now we got to mix green. And now this green is a really interesting green. I did some tests here, and you might want to do this too on yours if you're not sure. I just took another piece of paper and I did some various tests to figure out which yellow and blue combination would make the best, most accurate green. So this green, I used the light blue with the cooler yellow, the more lemon yellow, right? And then these are the other two yellows that I have, and the other blue. So this one down here, I used the cool yellow with the darker blue. So that was these two there. And then that one up there was a mixture of these two. And then this is the green that I want to use, I think, over here. And I created that green by using this slightly warmer yellow with the darker blue. And that helped give me that slightly earthier green that I want to be in there. So you can see I've got a little dust here. So I'm just going to go ahead and you can find out. It's a mess, this medium. But pretty fun to work with. We can clean all that up later. So I'm going to go ahead and take this warmer red, yellow, cooler, and the darker blue, and I'll start by just layering my yellow down first. I'm going to cover it pretty good, because technically blue is going to affect yellow much more than yellow is going to affect blue, because yellow is lighter in value and blue is darker in value. So that means just like if I add black to white, it covers it up more. So now I'm just going to come in and I'm just going to kind of get some good greens over top of here. Or sorry, some good blues. And then I can come back in with my yellow and use that to kind of blend it around a little bit. You know, push that blue back into the yellow, and then I can use my finger to smooth this around a little bit. And now I've got a pretty good green, but I think it needs to get a little bit more blue in there to be more accurate to that green. So I'm just going to add another little layer, and then smear it around a little bit, or blend it around. And now, hey, I've got a pretty good green there that's really close to the green that I have in the image. Now I can recreate the same green is right here, so you can do the same process here, right? Layer this warmer yellow with the darker blue. Blend it around. And voila, there we go. Now we've got a red here. That's pretty easy. We can just use our red straight from the pastel box to get that red. It does look a little warmer than this, so maybe I'll take this warmer red and see what happens, if anything. Maybe that'll warm it up a little bit for me. Another way I could warm it up is by just taking my warm yellow and putting a little bit of this warm yellow into that red. And then that's going to make it go a little bit towards a more, red-orange, if you will. And then that'll just help warm it up a little bit. So lots of ways to think through these different hues and how we layer them. So let's see. I think this next blue we can just layer in with I think this darker blue works really good. Right? Remember, we have all these two blues, the darker and lighter blue. I've got the two yellows, the warmer yellow, the cooler yellow. I've got a warmer red, a cooler red and a warm red there, right? And all those little subtle differences can make a difference here. And the reason is just because they're you know, placement on the color wheel. So if we think about our main primaries as being like right here, here's our main primaries, right? So I would have my warmer yellow would technically be a little closer to red. Then this warmer red is going to be a little bit closer to the yellow, right? If we had all of our secondaries, my orange would go right there, right? But for this exercise, we're only using the primaries, so we can really learn about color mixture. And then this blue technically would be a little bit closer to the red. So technically, it's a little bit warmer blue, right? And if we had a really good green in our kit, which we don't, that would be right in between here. We have this one darker green here, which works, but you know, the various yellows and blues mix a lot of great greens, so that's why they don't include much green in this kit. Okay, so that's pretty much all of the colors that we've mixed. I can jump down here and do this warmer yellow down here, because I do kind of feel like this yellow down here looks a little warmer than the one in the top right corner, although it's possible that this yellow here looks different on the chart because of what it's next to, right? Colors change how they look depending on what they're next to. And on this one here, the yellow is next to its complement purple, which is making it brighter. It's also next to black, which is making it appear lighter, because black next to yellow will make the yellow feel lighter. Then over here, where the yellow is next to a green and a white, it's making that yellow feel darker. Strange. I know, right? But all about color placement really changes how colors are experienced. So I can go ahead and do this blue here. And I can, I can blend it around with my finger to smooth it out. You can also use a blending stump, but I just don't want to wreck all my blending stumps, so I'm not using my blending stump. And the finger does work pretty good. So we've got the green here again, so we know how to make that, right? That's just yellow, then the blue. So we'll lay down this yellow here, and then we'll put this blue. Smear them around. Blend it around. Looks a little too blue for me, so I'm going to come in and get a little bit more yellow on top of here. Just to warm that green up, make it a little bit more green. There we go. Now it matches the other greens. Right, I've got yellow down here again. Whoops. See, that's what happens sometimes, but pastels are pretty workable. I just keep drawing right over that and more or less am okay. But that's part of their, kind of a little like charcoal, right? They're a little bit more looser, but it creates for some really great color mixing and expression that we're going to get to explore a little later. So then I've got my blue here. And I've got pretty much all of the just hues, the most basic primary and secondary hues on here, right? Our primaries being yellow, red, and blue. Our secondaries being violet, green, and orange, but technically there's no orange on here. I guess I could have made that one orange. What we could do, since in this white square, let's go ahead and make that orange. I said you can make it any color you want, but in the instructions, but let's go ahead and just make that orange so we can see how to mix orange. So I'm going to take the warmer red now, right, versus the cooler red, because this is going to be closer to orange. this red is going to be closer to yellow, technically closer to orange as well, so that way it's going to make a nice orange for us. My fingers are getting really mucked up, so I'm trying to wipe them off so I don't get the other color on top. But hey, there we go. That's a really nice orange there. These look much more vibrant in real life for me. The camera does change it a little bit, right? So keep that in mind. Okay, so now we know how to make orange. So now we have all of our secondaries of orange, green, and violet. So now we've got these outliers. We got black, and then we kind of these dark maroons. So let's start by doing this dark maroon here. I'm going to start with, I'm actually going to start by mixing this green. Okay, so I'm going to start by just getting a little bit of green down. I'm not going to do full coverage yet, just kind of like some partial coverage. I'll use this blue to get a little bit of that blue in there. And then I'm going to come over with my red over top of all this. And I'm going to use that red to blend all of that together. And now I have that darker maroon color. Looks like it looks a little brown on the screen, but to me, I see it on my page as really that like just darker red tone. If it's not dark enough, I can come back in. I can add a little bit more blue. I can make it darker. I can add a little bit more yellow if I need to push it a little bit more. Blend it all together here with my finger or with the tool, and I've got that nice dark red. And then you can go ahead and do that over here again. Now, black is going to be tricky with just these colors. So obviously in a perfect world, we could just use our black, our black piece of pastel and just put black down there. But I think it's a good understanding to try to figure out how to mix a black without those things. So, we kind of started getting it there, right? And maybe we might not be able to do it, but I'm just going to start mixing all my colors together. So I guess I'll start with this red, because why not? If we mix all of these colors together, there's a good chance we'll get a deep dark. Let's see if we can do it. I don't know if we're going to be able to pull it off. It is getting a bit dark there, isn't it? But I don't think we're quite going to be able to get the black that we want. But it is getting pretty dark. It's kind of like a dark blue now. Not quite perfectly black. Well, technically this is supposed to be the red anyway. So that deep red. So I guess I'll just make that deep red, or I'll switch them up. So at this point though, if you really want to, there's some different ways to explore different blacks. We do have a deep brown we could put in there. That might make it a deeper dark, right? Not full black, but a deeper dark color. And then if you did want to use black, you could come in and layer black over the top of this all, and then that would give you that deep, rich color, right? And then I can go ahead and blend it around with my finger. And that now I have like a deep, rich, vibrant black with a lot of color in it. If I were to just take straight black and put it here, it has more color, it has more contrast, but it has less color in it, so it has less depth to it, right? It feels flatter, whereas this dark now feels very rich and tonal, like, maybe it's the shadow on an apple, right? Or on an arm, right? Somewhere where there's like a deep, rich color base. So that can be a fun way to play around with, mixing colors with black to just get various tonal blacks. in painting, we always say always mix your black. So, you know, I might be able to use this red, and then what happens when I mix this dark green with the red? Let's see if it'll get really dark. No, not quite. In paint, we have different colors that will make colors really, really dark. Like a viridian green and a alizarin crimson will make a really deep, rich, dark. But I can just use the black to finish this off. But you can see how much more spacious these two blacks are than the flat black here. And we still have a lot of contrast. But just some fun things to think about with blacks here. Now I've got a nice big mess here, right? So I can go ahead and take my page and dump off all my dust, either into my box bin and I can throw it away later, or into this other piece of paper here, and just kind of try and keep everything somewhat clean here. You can take it outside, maybe take it outside and blow it off is not a bad idea. I might do that. Take it outside and blow it off. I can clean this up a little bit with my eraser too. Not perfectly, but a little bit. And just kind of clean this whole thing up a little bit before submitting it to the final piece. So I'll go ahead and do that, and then I'll post this as a final image on the page. So your next assignment is to do this same. The next project, or I should say next exercise, is to do one more contrast of hue checkerboard, but this time you can use any colors you want. You don't just have to mix them. You can use any color from your kit here. So any of the yellows, any of the blues or your purples, you can use any color that you want. So you have more freedom here to explore color relationships and, you know, colors and how they work next to each other. So, all right, folks. Hey, have fun, and I look forward to seeing the results.